Hi guys, and welcome to the Magical Readathon wrap-up for the spring equinox. This was created by G over on Book Roast. She did a really good job. She's always done a good job with this, and it's been fun to participate in each time. So I opted to continue my education to become a master of the elements. I am not creative enough to come up with an avatar as far as what the character looks like and the name of my character. So I just figure it would be me. If I could insert myself into that world, it would be me. So, Master of Elements. So for my career, there were 6 prompts. There was also a quest, and I did participate in the quest. So let's go ahead and delve in. Today is the 24th, I think. Yes. Today is Monday, April 24th. So I have all this week to finish. I am about in the middle of one book, and I have one more book to read, and then it will be done. I will complete both of these books this month. So, this week. So I am a master of elements. I have completed my career as far as this spring equinox goes. So, I am excited. Now, I am a part of the Order of the Crescent, so I could start a couple of days early. And that's what I did. So, which is really good, because otherwise I would have failed this time. Now you can continue on. G has said that you can. The quests are specific for like that term that you're in. So the spring equinox quests have to be done during the questing period, during that spring equinox period. But the classes can continue on until you complete it. Well, I'm done. I've done them all. So again, except for these 2 books, which I'll tell you about. But they will be completed this week. Okay, so the first class that I had was Elemental Studies. This is to Botanic Controls. This is to read a book with flowers on the cover. This one I went with a Cozy Mystery. And I have 3 Tainted Teas by Lynn Cahoon. This is book number 3 in a Kitchen Witch mystery series. We're following, in this series, we are following Mia. She's in this little town in Idaho that's full of witches. There are people that are not witches, and some that know about witches but aren't practicing witches. Like not Wicca, but actual, like, can cast a spell, and more like the fictionalized witches type of a thing. Mia has purchased a school that is no longer in use in this little town because the kids have all moved to a newer building, or at least that's what was alluded to. Mia is a caterer. She has decided to open her own catering business, and she is using the school for her home and business. And in this small town lives her grandma, and her grandma is going to pass the family grimoire down to her. And she has this familiar, I can't remember the familiar's name, but it's like a kitchen witch doll. Gloria, I think, is the name that's come into my mind. She has this cat. I can't remember the cat's name. Is it Mr. Darcy? For whatever reason, that might be wrong. I don't remember. Or Dorian? I don't know. Anyway, so she has this cat, so you have this familiar. She has this friend who works for her, who is also the sister of her ex-fiance, and her name is Christina. And Christina is autistic. And Mia and Christina are really close best friends, and you watch as Christina kind of comes into her own, finds her own voice, learns to stand up for herself and things like that. And she helps Mia with her business, and their friendship is really cute, and I love it. So in this particular book, Mia has been hired to help cater, or not cater, but plan a wedding. And basically, like any standard cozy mystery, there's a dead body. The main character inserts themselves into the investigation, whether they are a suspect or not. Could be someone that they know is a suspect, or they don't know who the suspect is. But she's able to find out more stuff than you find out from the police side of things. So, and then there's always a resolution with cozy mysteries. This one involves a wedding between a witch and a werewolf. And you're just following as kind of mayhem ensues, and Mia's life is literally on the line. Someone is, they're trying to end things, and yeah, so it was fun. It's cute. I gave this one 4 stars. I'm having fun with this series. There is another book that is out and I can't remember the name of it, but I am excited for it. So anyway, Three Tainted Teas by Lynn Cahoon. I love this series. I'm absolutely having fun with it. Okay, the next class I had to complete was Shape Shifting. This is in the form of a wolf. So this is to read a book that has a wolf on the cover, in the title, or on the author's name. Man, before this class started, I was on the hunt. I could not think of anything. And then I found this kind of sitting off to the side. And I was like, well, duh. Wolf is in the title and it's on the cover. So why? I've basically forgot that I had this one. And I'm glad I stumbled across it and read it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. And that is A Wolf for a Spell, written by Karah Sutton. And I think this was Karah's debut. There's hints of Russian folklore and mythology because you do have the Baba Yaga in here, and some people are able to literally communicate with wolves. And there is, oh man, I swear I am so bad. There's this thing that happens where Zima makes a deal basically with Baba Yaga. So they actually end up switching bodies. So the Baba Yaga goes into Zima's body. Zima is a wolf. And then the wolf's spirit goes into Baba Yaga's. And things ensue from there. You have someone that comes searching for Baba Yaga's help. And it's actually the wolf. But she still helps this person. And Baba Yaga in the form of a wolf is going to try to find someone to undo a curse that was done years ago. And to kind of set things right, and then it all comes to a head. There's this guy who wants to stay the Tsar, or whatever it's called, this big emperor type dude, and he will kill whoever he has to hold his position. So things just kind of go from there, and there's a lot of talk of respecting the woods and respecting the animals, and things like that. It was good. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I look forward to reading another work by this author. There's a lot in this book of artwork as well. So let me see. Let me find, and it's just something like that. So yeah, I enjoyed that one. Yeah, it was good. Okay, moving on. The third class I had was Animal Studies, Heads and Tails. So you flip a coin. Heads was to read a nonfiction. Thankfully, I got Tails, and so I got to read a fiction book. For this one, I went with, where is it? Here we go. Afrotistic by Kayla Allen Omeiza. This was actually also the read for the Autism Reads Readathon that I am a host of. I will link the Discord in the description box. I gave this 5 stars, and part of it is because, one, the writing is blunt. It's to the point. Flowery writing is fine, but I don't like it when it's overly flowery, where I have to try to decipher what the heck the author is trying to say. If you're going to make me think that hard, I don't want to read the book. So I prefer it when it's just to the point. This is the character's thinking, this is what they're doing, this is what they're feeling, this is what happened, and moving on. I do like descriptions to a point, but this for me was like the perfect writing for me. This is the type of writing that I liked. It's very much to the point, and you just move on. You have elements in here that are like emails. You have some papers that the character writes. The main character's name is Noah. You have some text or messaging between, so you do have a little bit of mixed media. But we're following, she's in high school. She's trying to join this elite honor society program. Noah creates this group called the Roaring Pebbles, and the way that she came up with that name is really sweet, in my opinion. I'm not going to tell you how, because it does kind of spoil something that happens a little later on in the book, with as far as like a friendship forming. What I loved about this book too is all of the different representations of autism. So the Roaring Pebbles is a group for those that are autistic or for neurodivergence. It's not just for the school. They open it up to people in the school district. And so people will join via Zoom or Skype, something like that. They have adults or people that have graduated from school. They have adults come over the Skype and Zoom and talk about their experience being autistic growing up in their chosen career. You have a YouTuber. You have that talks to the students. You have two people that are in college or university that talks to them about what they do to kind of adapt and accommodations and their struggles in college and university and their strengths and things like that. You have discussion of hypersensitivity versus hyposensitivity. You have them talking about how a lot of people that are autistic might not be able to fully understand and explain what they are feeling regarding their emotions. They just, like myself, I feel fine, and for me that's a good thing. So I feel fine, I'm fine. You know, so I struggle with identifying my emotions, and there's an actual word for it, and I actually Googled it, and it is a real thing, and it is talked about in here. There is a ton of autism reps, so you see how autism affects everyone differently. You have, her dad is autistic, you see how it affects him. Her little brother is autistic, he's also nonverbal. You have someone that's autistic that has hyposensitivity, where she has hypersensitivity. And you have other things where people are going, I doubt I'm even autistic, or I'm not autistic enough, type of a thing. So there's just a lot of talk of how it affects people differently. And I really, really appreciated that. Rather than having just one character and seeing their one experience, it was very enjoyable to see a bunch of different people that were on the spectrum and to see how it affected them and how they struggled with different things. So I highly recommend this one. If you are wanting to learn more about autism, I highly, highly, highly recommend Afrotistic, again, by Kayla Ellen Omeiza. And part of why, again, I recommend this one is because of the various representations, to see how it affects people differently. Because just because you know one person that's autistic does not mean that everyone else that you meet that's autistic is going to have the same struggles and challenges. So I highly recommend that one. Okay, moving on, the class was astronomy. This is the eclipse effect. This is to read a book that has 2-letter E's in the title. A Time of Dread by John Gwynne. So I have an E in time and an E in dread. There we go. So A Time of Dread. This is book number 1 in Of Blood and Bone series. This series follows the events of the Faithful and the Fallen series. This takes place a couple of hundred years after that series, but you definitely need to read the Faithful and the Fallen series before you delve into this series. The reason being, there are events from the first series that are reminisced and talked about in this series. So things will make much more sense if you read the Faithful and the Fallen series. Think, with this book, there's a lot of POVs. Think war between good and evil, or between what you think is good but might actually start to become corrupt versus evil. So what's evil versus more evil? There's a lot of war. Kind of think, it gives me a lot of Viking vibes. There's axe swinging, there's swords, there's arrows. There's, because of its war, you have a lot of bloodshed. You have decapitation, dismemberment, people's stomachs getting sliced open and things like that. So it does get very gory. So if that is bothersome, definitely avoid this series and the Faithful and the Fallen series. We're following several points of view. You have Drem, Rig, or Riv, Sig. John Gwynne is not afraid to kill off a character that you particularly like. So there are 2 deaths in this that I was kind of bummed about, one more so than the other, because I was hoping that one of these 2 characters would go farther on in the series. So I was really sad when that particular character died. You do have some characters in this series that are certain types of creatures that live hundreds of years. So you do have characters in here that were in the first series, so that's another reason to read the Faithful and the Fallen series first. You have people that are training with the Ben Halim, I think is what they are called. I can't remember. Ben Elim. And they basically want to become like these white angel type things that are warriors for the good, that fight for the good to try to defeat the evil. And these angels are not supposed to have relations with those that are not angels, and that's basically frowned and forbidden on. But people start to blur certain lines and things happen, so things start to become corrupt. And then obviously you have the rise of the evil, or what they're saying is evil. So you're still trying to figure out in this book what is truly evil and what they're saying is good. Are they really good, or are they corrupt and becoming evil, type of a thing. So we're still trying to figure things out. It's just the first book in the series. 5 stars. I absolutely love John Gwynne's writing, so I am excited to continue with that. Okay, the next class is Conjuration, Spirit Binding Spells, and this is to read a book that is recommended by a friend. This one I'm almost in the middle of. I'm on page 404 and there's 838 pages, so I'm just shy of the halfway mark. This book will be completed this week, and that is Assassin's Quest. And the reason I'm saying recommended by a friend is this is talked about so much on BookTube. So, and people that I've gotten to know on BookTube, or not really gotten to know personally, but I don't know, would be BookTube friends possibly. They recommend, I'm counting it, okay? So recommended by a friend, because I do have a BookTube friend who is reading this series, so take that as the recommendation, okay? So this is book number 3 in the Farseer trilogy. You are following Chivalry, who is the bastard son of, or you're following Fitz. He is the bastard son of Prince Chivalry, who is the king in waiting. Chivalry abdicates his throne when he finds out he fathered a child out of wedlock. And Fitz is raised at the castle. He's reared up by Burrich, who is a stable master, and Chase takes him under his wing because the king takes a special interest in Fitz, where he is half royal. He's like, you can mingle with the royals and you can also mingle with the commoners, and they train him up to be the royal assassin. And right now he's on a quest to kill a certain person. So that's all I can say about that. This is a high epic fantasy, so it takes a little bit to get into, but I have thoroughly enjoyed being back in this world and seeing what Fitz is getting up to. Let me see, is there something I can read to you that I underlined that kind of, that won't give anything away? There's talk of time and time having no mercy. How someone might know that they're not how wounded they are until someone else prods the wound. So anyway, this is good. I'm enjoying this one. I imagine this one being easily a 4-star, definitely no less than that, maybe even a 5-star. We'll see how the second half of the book goes, but this will be completed this week. Okay, the last class that I have to read is Restoration, which is Oculi Cures. This is to close your eyes, shuffle, and point. So this book I have not started yet, but I will start, and this will be finished this week. There are, I think it's less than it's less than 300 pages. So this will definitely be done this week. So the one I pointed to is The Lies I Tell, written by Julie Clark. I can't tell you anything about this book because I haven't read it yet. All I know is that there's lies and people are going to uncover things. So it's a domestic thriller that delves deep into the psyches and motivations of 2 women and their unwavering quest to seek justice for the past and rewrite the future. So I don't know anything about it yet. So yeah, so this will be done this week. I will read that one. So that will complete my Master of the Elements course study. Now, next are the books that I read for the quest. So G also created a quest. There was a document. You would log in one day and then you would complete the book, and then you would go in the day that the next part of the quest would open up. So I did not write down what it was. I just wrote down kind of what the prompt was. Basically, in this particular one, you are studying and this note shows up. You find this note and it's the professor asking for your help, and you make the decision to either ignore the note or to go to the classroom and help the professor see what he needs. And that's what I did. So I chose to go to the alchemy classroom, and this is to read a book that has the word night in the title or has nighttime on the cover. So this one I went with a graphic novel. This is Long Distance, written by Whitney Gardner. This is a middle grade. There's talk of space, there's talk of friendship, there's talk of aliens. This girl moves with her 2 dads to a new town. So she's leaving behind this friend that she was like BFFs with. She's bummed. They sign her up for a summer camp to try to make new friends. And you're just following as she's at this camp. So a lot of talk of that. As you can see, it's nighttime on the cover. I mean, when's the best time to look at the stars? It's at night. So, and she likes to gaze and watch the stars. So yeah, so nighttime on the cover, Long Distance by Whitney Gardner. And I gave this one 3 stars. I think this would have gotten more had this one been in a standard middle grade novel format. I would have liked to have seen more character development, but it was still a very fun read. I think it would just been a little bit more enjoyable had it been in a novel format, but I still really enjoyed it. So yeah. All right, moving on. The next, so I've gone to the classroom, and I don't remember what the next thing was. Maybe to accept the mission that the professor wants to put you on, but the prompt was to read the majority of the book with the Alchemy Theater ambiance room in the background. So I did that, and for this one, this was easy. I just read this the whole time. It's less than 200 pages. It's less than 125 pages, or it is 125. It's 125 pages. It's a collection of comics. Big Mushy Happy Lump by Sarah Anderson is volume 2 in the Sarah Scribbles collection. You're just following, there's not a plot, it's just this character in certain situations where it's expectations versus reality. Snuggling in the winter with your partner versus snuggling in the summer with your partner. Having your hair slicked back in a bun versus what you expect it to look like versus what it does. Going on vacation and all of a sudden your period showing up. Just poking fun at little life situations. So it was enjoyable. Gave this one 4 stars. It was fun. I really enjoyed that, and I look forward to continuing on with volume 3. Okay. And because there's no plot, that's really all I can say. The next one is you're trying to decide who you have 3 options. You're at this place. You have to try and intercept this letter. And you have 3 options. There's this person writing at a desk. There's a person standing around looking kind of shifty, like he's looking for someone. And then you have a person that's drinking, who's called a patron. And I was like, okay, well, this guy looks like he's probably up to no good. This other guy looks like he's probably studying or working or something. And I thought, this other guy looks like fun and might be easier to talk to, so let's go to him. So I went to the drunk patron type of a thing. So I chose who to approach. And then with the patron, you have the option to either use a spell, but it is also mentioned that it looks like he might not need the spell. So I thought, well, why use a spell on someone if I don't need to? Is it going to give something away? So I let him just order more drinks and loosen his tongue with alcohol. And so it is approach the patron, order more drinks, read a contemporary book. So I went with Giant Days Volume 1, written by Allison, Treiman, and Koger. This is just 3 kids in college or university, and they're just trying to figure out more about themselves. 2 of them, I think, are going into medical school. I don't know what the 3rd one is doing yet. She just turns 17 or 18 in this. It talks about her now being at legal drinking age, so it does not take place in the U.S. It does at one point talk about how the cost of something. It mentions how it's like so many pounds, and so I think it takes place someplace in Europe. There's this sickness that goes around, and so it talks about how they're coping with sickness, what to do. The one girl is finding out that she's actually attracted to other girls. You have a bet that's made as far as, hey, if you can go a day without causing any drama or being clumsy, then you win this. Otherwise, you have to do this for me. Just a slice of life, coming of age at college or university. I gave this one 4 stars. It was very enjoyable, and I'm excited to continue on with that series. Okay, so you've gone to the bar or whatever, the pub, and you've accomplished what you needed to accomplish. Or I have accomplished what I needed to accomplish on this quest. So in this, you read the letter and you have to decide if you're going to go to the elders of the school or if you're going to go to the professor. Well, my thinking is, like, if I was literally doing this, I would not have read that because the letter is not addressed to me. So I would have gone directly to the professor. So I acted like I didn't read it, even though the character in there knows, but I went to the professor. So I went back to the professor. So I returned to the professor, and that is to reread a favorite. For this one, I reread Switched by R.L. Stine. This is like my 4th or 5th time rereading this. This is my favorite out of the Fear Street, and this is the original Fear Street. You can read these in any order, unless it's like Switched versus Switched 2. Obviously, you would read those in order. But outside of that, you can read them in any order. And this one we're following mostly Nicole. She has her best friend Lucy. They're both not satisfied with the way their life is. Things are unfair. They're not happy. Lucy comes up with the idea to go to the Fear Street Cemetery, climb this wall, and jump over it. It's called the Changing Wall, and by doing so, they will switch bodies. So that is what they do. Nicole is talked into it. They go and jump over the wall. So now Nicole is in Lucy's body, and Lucy's in Nicole's body. Nicole finds things out that are not good, wants her body back, and is on the hunt for Lucy. And things happen that are not so good, and that's really all I can say, because these are novellas. These are considered novellas, so they are very short. And I can't really say much more than that without going into massive spoilers. So I'm going to leave it there. I highly recommend this one. Has always, since the first time I read that, has stayed in my mind and is the one that I remember when I think of Fear Street. And it's my favorite one. And now I have not read all of them, so I don't know if it will stay my favorite, but so far it is my favorite out of the original Fear Street series. So easily a 5-star. Okay. And the next part of the quest is you've given the professor the note, and basically they're saying that the professor, in the note, the professor has this thing that is bad, and this item is hidden in his office. So you're going to search the office to try to find it. Well, I was like, oh, I'll just go from top to bottom. You know, if I don't find it in this one spot, then I'll move on to the next one and move on to the next one. So I was doing that. I went through the first 3 spots, didn't find it. And so I thought, okay, well, there's no way it's going to be this next one. So it's probably going to be the last one, because things are usually in the last place that you look. So then I went to the last one and worked my way from the last prompt to the second to the last, to the third to last, to the middle prompt. So I ended up having to look at all of the places listed. So the first place I searched that came up empty was to search for this little vial of stuff, is to search inside the empty cauldrons, and this is to read a thriller. So this one I read Haunted by R.L. Stine. This gal lives with her mom and dad on Fear Street. There's this person that's breaking into houses on Fear Street, so he's known as the Fear Street Prowler. So she's obviously scared already. She's woken up by sounds and thinks the Prowler is trying to break in. One night she wakes up and there's this ghost in her room. The ghost says that she killed him, and now he is going to kill her as vengeance. She pleads for her life. He's like, okay, fine, figure out what really happened. And so you're following Melissa is her name, as she is trying to figure out what really happened. Did she really kill him? And things like that. So I'm going to leave it at that, because that's all I can say without getting into spoiler territory. So yeah, you're following her. She's trying to piece the puzzles together of how this guy really died. Who is he really? And did she really kill him or not? So yeah, I ended up giving that one 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed that one. Okay, the next spot that I searched with Professor Auburn was the bookshelf. And this is to specifically search to read a book from a middle shelf. So I did go to a middle shelf on my bookcase, and I went with the shortest book that was on that bookcase. I went with The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. This is 124 pages. No, 125. No, hang on. It's 127 pages, more like 126 and a half. No chapters. It's all one thing. You're following this old man as he goes to sea to try and catch a fish. He wants to catch this next big fish. He's out on sea by himself for several days, so he talks to himself, he talks to the fish in the sea, he talks to the sky or the sun in the sky, and you're just following him as he's trying to catch this fish. I ended up giving this 3 stars. My problem was, that I've said in other wrap-ups, I was so physically tired when I read this book, I fell asleep while reading this book a couple of times, so I had to kind of go back to where I was like, okay, this is sounding familiar, and then read from that point, and then I would read a little bit farther, and then I would fall asleep. That is not the book's fault. That was my fault. Lesson to me: if I'm starting to fall asleep during a book, put the book down and pick it up later. But I forced myself to finish it in one sitting. I think I would have enjoyed it more had I gone, I'm too tired, put it down, and then come back to it. So I do look forward to rereading this in the future. But yeah, you're just following this guy as he's thinking these random thoughts, and talking to the sharks and the fish, and talking to himself as he's on the sea. So, I mean, that's really all I can say about that. So, okay. The next place to search was to search Professor Auburn's desk. And this was to read a book that has furniture on the cover. So this one I went with The Wrong Number by R.L. Stine. They are sitting on a bed. There's a nightstand there. There's a lamp. So that's the furniture on the cover. This one we're following two friends, Dina and her best friend Jade. So we're in Dina's house. Dina's dad works for the phone company, so Dina has been allowed to have a phone in her room. You got to remember, this is in the 90s. This book was published in the 90s. So this phone has the cord. It's, I don't know if it's a rotary dial phone or one where you push the buttons for the phone number. But they decide to make some prank calls. They want to call some boys in school and kind of like put on their sexy voice and tell them how hot they are and how much they're lusting after them, type of a thing. Well, Dina's stepbrother moved in with them and he overhears the prank calls and he's like, we're going to have some fun and really do this. I will say this because this can be bothersome to some people. There is a prank call that is done that involves a bomb threat. So there's a situation where the girls get scared and they talk about the horrors of Fear Street. They do not live on Fear Street, but they talk about how Fear Street is this scary place. The stepbrother doesn't believe his sister and her friend, and so he decides to prank call a house on Fear Street. Well, he calls a house. There's this gal that answers and is like, please help me, you're my only hope, he's gonna kill me. So a murder happens, and then for whatever reason, these kids are blamed for the murder. The police do not believe them when they say it was just prank calls. It was, you know, this is what happened. The police don't believe them, so the two girls insert themselves into the investigation to figure out what happened. And so you're following them as they're trying to piece pieces together and find out what really happened, who this one guy was, and things like that. So yeah, and police are not believing these teenagers that were making prank phone calls. How surprising is that, right? Okay. The next place I searched was Under the Floorboards. This is to read a book that the author's name has the letter Z, like zebra, Zed, whatever. So this one is Hey Kiddo by Jarrett. I don't know how to say the last name, but it's Krosoczka. So there is a Z right in the name. This is actually a nonfiction. It's a graphic novel memoir. I did not give this one a star rating. Oh, wrong number. I gave 3 stars. I don't know if I said that, but there it is. Okay, this one I did not rate. I kind of got bored with it. I feel like this would have done better had it been in a standard novel format rather than a graphic novel format. I would have enjoyed it more had it been in the standard novel format. I mean, there was not really any descriptions. It was just conversations. I mean, there were some descriptions, but I just feel like it could have gone deeper into certain stuff. I mean, this guy loves to draw. His mom is addicted to drugs. You follow him as he makes a friend and reveals that his mom is addicted to drugs. That's why she's in jail and not around. His dad is not present in his life. This kid is raised by his grandparents. And so yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I can tell you. I am going to go ahead and pass this on. I'm not going to reread it. I got bored with it. And that's again part of why I think it would have been better and more enjoyable in a standard novel. I just got tired of it. I found it to be very predictable towards the end with all the drawings and stuff, and I just was tired of it. This was my mom's. She passed it on to me. She enjoyed it. She's not going to reread it. I'm not going to reread it. So we're going to let this find a new home, and we're just going to move on from that. So, because I don't know what else to say about that. Okay. The next place I searched was to read a book with plants on the cover. You search the pots and the plants. So a book with plants on the cover. This one I went with Housecat Trouble Volume 2, Lost and Found. We're following Buster. This cat shows up at Buster's house. This cat says he's lost, so Buster's going to help the cat find his home. That's it. This is a middle grade graphic novel, and that is the point. That is the plot. You're following them as they go on this adventure to try and find the cat's home. They come across geese, they come across an animal catcher, they come across other cats, and they come across dogs. So, yeah. Plants on the cover. There you go. There's grass, there's a flower. So, plants on the cover. And I gave that one 5 stars. It is really cute. I hope there's another... I hope Mason Dickerson is the author. I hope Mason comes out with another book in this. because I pre-ordered this one. This came out this year, and I will definitely get the next book if Mason does another book. I haven't heard if there's going to be another one or not. Okay, the next place searched was, or the last place searched was the ingredients cupboard. And of course that's where the thing was. And this is to read a book that has a 4-word title. Children of the Whales. That's what I read. This is volume 1 of Children of the Whales. This is a fantasy manga written by Omeiza. I gave this one 3 stars. I will continue. I am intrigued enough to continue on with this series. I have already ordered the second book, and I have that set to the side, ready to continue when it fits another prompt at some point. I am intrigued to continue. This is a fantasy manga. It's a little darker. You have these two groups of people that are trapped on this island. This island is surrounded by sea, but the sea is, think of the ocean. Well, duh, the sea is the ocean. They're surrounded by sand, but think of it as the ocean. That's what I'm trying to say. Basically, if you were to try to step out on the sand, you're going to drown. It moves around like the ocean does. The two groups of people are, you have the elders who are unmarked and they can live a long life, so they're considered elders and the wise of the village. And then you have the marked who have special magical powers and abilities, and they do not live as long, so they tend to die quite a bit younger. One day, this island in the distance pops up, so this group of people go to the island to try to see what is salvageable, to investigate the island, if they can bring anything back. There's this person on the island, they end up taking her back, and the elders interrogate her, they try to figure out who she is, where she's from, what's going on, where's everyone else, and things like that. And towards the end of the book, a bunch of people show up with guns, and that's all I can say. I don't know what's going on with this. So that's literally all I know. I'm still kind of confused by it, but I do want to see what's going to happen with it. The art drawings are not my favorite, but I became more comfortable with the drawings and enjoyed them more the more into the story I got. So I think I'll enjoy the art the further in that I go. But yeah, so I gave this 3 stars, and I am going to continue on with that series. I do want to figure out what's going on. Alright, this last prompt was to destroy this vial that is not good that was hidden in the professor's classroom. So this was to spin a color wheel, so I just got a random color wheel generator on my phone, spun the wheel, and the color that generated was pink. So I went with another manga. This one I went with Dream and Sun, volume 1 by Ichiko Takano, and I gave this 3 stars. I enjoyed it, and I am going to continue on with this series. I did order the second one. I have it set to the side. So this gal decides to run away from home. She feels like she's no longer basically loved and wanted. She comes across this guy who's basically drunk, and she has to help him find a key, tell him why she ran away, and have a dream, and then she can move in with him. So she talks to him, they can move in, it's him, and she's in high school, he is like 23 or something like that. And then there's these 2 other kids that live in the house that are also in high school, and she has a crush on one of them. And this older guy is trying to convince her, you've got to call your parents, tell them where you are, you have to tell them. You know, you can't keep keeping this secret that, you know, and all of that. So you're just following that. And I thought it was cute. I actually really enjoyed this one. This one I did like the art in it. So I really did enjoy the artwork in this one. And I look forward to continuing on. And I can't really tell you much more than that. So yeah. And I don't know how old the main female character is. I keep thinking she's like 14. She's probably older than that, like 16. But I am not quite sure what her age is, but she does definitely read younger. Very, very much younger. So, but yeah. So we'll see. 3 stars. Enjoyed it. So those are all the books that I have read, other than these 2 books. So again, I'm almost halfway in Assassin's Quest. I will complete that this week, and then I will move on to The Lies I Tell, and that will also be completed this week. So I will have completed every prompt for the quest. I have completed every prompt for the quest. I will complete this week all the prompts for my Master of Elements class, so, or career path. So that's it. Let me know, did you participate in the Magical Readathon? What was your career choice? And did you do the quest too? So yeah, let me know. Talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I'll talk to you later.